Welcome to this episode of YouTube. We want to wish you a happy new year. What I'm going to do is share some clips from each month out of 2020. And we started in January 2020 trying to get Grizzer a little bit more socialization, trying to see how Denali would be coming next to the fence line because they eventually, we thought, would have to live together. This is a clip of Grayson, actually, who's quite interested in Grizzer there. Denali didn't show much interest in Grizzer, so that was our first indication that maybe in retirement things would work out well for them. So that's how we started January, always wanting to make sure our lone wolves have social stimuli. So that was a real important part of moving the pack in and out of this pack holding area to see Grizzer. By February, typical winter wolf syndrome. The winter hormones are increasing, a lot of chase scenes going on here. You can see Denali still able to keep up with the younger wolves, but definitely a difference between the 4-year-olds, Axel and Grayson, the 8-year-old Bolts, and the 12-year-old Denali. So that was typical winter behavior. It's nothing out of the ordinary for wolves to chase around and patrol the area, show a little bit of posturing. That's classic wolf winter behavior. But as we went into this year, we knew that Denali was going to be 12 years of age in April of 2020, and so that is the oldest wolf that we'd ever managed in the exhibit. Usually by 10, all of our wolves had been retired. So we were very keen on watching how Denali was dealing with attention from the younger wolves. You can see Axel doing a raised leg urination and a scrape, pretty excited, high posturing, certainly showing some status there. The one thing Denali had going for him was that Denali's always been food possessive. And also, Denali and Bolts had such a strong bond that while Bolts and Axel helped to depose Aiden in the winter of 2018, Bolts wasn't a participant on dominance on Denali. It was really just Axel. So it was less stress. So it's not like two wolves trying to take on another wolf. And so that really helped Denali be able to stay in. Grayson, though, didn't deal very well with Denali staying in the pack. Denali was food possessive. Denali would often drive Grayson off of carcasses. That eventually really led to some conflicts that led to Denali's retirement later in the year. So by March, COVID had hit, and we were still going forward with things that we had planned for the new pups, and that included a new floor in the exhibit. But we clearly had to change up how things were done from the standpoint of wolf care. So we reduced the number of people that were coming in and out of the lab to be concerned about risk. That meant a small cohort of wolf care got all of the Working for Wolves project done that would normally have been in a May program. May was also our triannual vet exam for the wolves. Bolts and Denali went to the clinic. Axel and Grayson only needed blood work and an exam, and they stayed here. And while we identified things in that medical exam, we certainly were not identifying anything that would prepare us for what came later on in the year. So as summer approached, it got warm pretty fast. We got the new Mister systems hooked up, thanks to Steve and Nettie, spending a little bit of time getting that new system functioning again. And that really helped cool the wolves. But also by July 4th, we had small amounts of groups of people that were allowed to be in the building upon the governor's orders with pre-registration. So we were able to do our summer enrichment program. July 4th enrichment was red, white, and blue ice cones. That was Gatorade in snow that was collected last winter. So that was a good kind of special event. The Arctics like seeing things. But by August was when wolf care staff had started to notice some back leg instability in Bolts. Originally, we thought it may have been dehydration, something related to, we had some really hot August days, high humidity days. Wolves just don't do very well in high humidity. They're adapted to have winter coat over their bodies and not sweat glands, so they pant to try to cool themselves, and sometimes you just can't cool yourself and you get dehydrated, especially for a wolf like Bolts, who had other issues that he sought refuge up into the wooded enclosure, getting away from some of the bugs, getting away from some of the heat. And so we discovered that condition August 22nd during a feeding was when it was really noticed, and we started to then really rely on explore.org cameras to be able to help us assess when was Bolts coming out, how was he managing, how was he walking, and that assessment led us to follow through with some treatments. But by September, we realized that this was a much more serious condition, and we needed to manage him into a smaller area to allow for additional testing. And so he had been moved into retirement by September. By October, we had an early snowstorm, kind of coincided with some of the vet checks for Bolts, created a little bit of dominance issues in the exhibit, and Denali was retired on October 16th. Shortly after that, we ended up finding no clear diagnosis to Bolts' degenerative condition, and he was euthanized on November 12th, and that created the change for, by November 13th, we're having Grizzer and Denali utilizing the same space, all three spaces again. And what turned out to be probably the best thing for Grizzer from the standpoint of getting more mobility, getting more energy, getting more mental stimuli is having Denali as a companion. So over in retirement, while things are getting along quite well in the exhibit, we're starting to see a little bit of seasonal tension, with Axel asserting quite a bit of dominance over Grayson. And certainly we experienced that before when we had two brothers alone, when we had Aiden and Denali alone, when we had Shadow Malik alone. So we know that this is seasonal and this will pass. And certainly the addition of the pups in 2021, we will change the dynamics of the pack. So thanks for watching over the year, and we appreciate everyone's support of the Ambassador Wolves. So have a great New Year's, be safe, and we'll see you next year.